Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. It is another rainy, dreary day here in Northern California, but what I have been doing for the past couple days is I've been doing opportunistic gardening. So basically these rainstorms, you can't blame the weather, the meteorologist, because they're so sporadic and they're so kind of, it'll be like nothing and then all of a sudden it's a downpour. And I think that has to do with the nature of these storms, like that they're calling it an atmospheric river or a bomb cyclone, and so they just don't follow normal patterns like we're used to with our weather. So there's really no predicting. I will be watching the weather report and it'll say, okay, it's going to be clear all morning and it's not going to start raining until 5 p.m. And then I'll go back like 20 minutes later and it'll be like, okay, it's going to rain all morning and it's going to stop raining at 5 p.m. So there's no predicting it. So what I'm doing for my weather report, I'm opening the door, I'm walking outside, and I'm looking up and saying, is it raining or not? So that's my plan for the next couple days, for as long as we have this wet weather, is I'm just going to try and come out here when it's not raining, and then as soon as it starts raining, I'm not going to get upset about it. I'm just going to go inside, do something else, and wait, and hopefully I can get back out at a different time during the day. I've been doing that for the past couple days, and I've actually gotten, I think, 250 bulbs planted in just the amount of time. On days that it was supposed to be raining all day, I still got 250 bulbs planted. So I think that this technique is gonna work. It's a little bit more effort, but it's worth it. So what I'm trying to do today, I have 2 jobs that I'm trying to get done before it starts raining. According to the weather report right now, it is supposed to start raining at 2 o'clock. Right now it's about 9:30, and at 2 o'clock it says it's supposed to be thunder and lightning. So I have to go inside. And so if I start hearing that today, earlier today, I will just scrap it and just go inside. But so far it looks okay. It's looked okay all morning. So I'm just going to try and get done as much as I can get done right now. So my plans for today, I have 2 things. If you all remember, my neighbors lost their mother. So my neighbor's mother lives down the street. It's kind of like a family thing. The mother passed away. She was a very old age. She lived a really good life. And they gave me a bunch of her plants. They gave me her purple bougainvillea. They gave me a bunch of her orchids, because I'm a gardener and she was a gardener, and I am honored to receive all of those plants. So that was the husband's mother that passed away. If you can believe it, within I think 2 months, the wife's mother passed away. So they lost both of their mothers just within a couple months. And then my neighbors on the other side, they lost both of their mothers as well. It's just been a lot lately. So, it's always a hard thing when somebody loses a loved one and you try and console them as much as possible. But I was gifted another beautiful plant from my neighbors, and this time it wasn't the husband's mom. It was the wife's mother, who actually lived closer to the Bay Area. She was a gardener as well, and apparently she had some incredible peonies in her garden. They're gonna send me pictures. Hopefully I'll text them and see if they can send me pictures. They don't know what variety. They don't even know if they're tree peonies or herbaceous peonies. They don't know anything about them. And you know what? I don't care. I want to do it. I want to try them anyway. I'm over here in front of my cottage garden right now, where I've planted about 5 other peonies, very, very small ones. I have 2 from this woman's garden who passed away. One of them is a very small one, but one of them is massive. Here's the wheelbarrow. Here's sweet peas, which is the other thing that I want to try and get done today. And I'm going to plant them right along this wall, and I'm hoping to hang some wires so the sweet peas can grow up the wire. So that is the second thing that I'm trying to get done before the storm starts. These garbage bags right here are actually the peonies that they dug up from her home and brought to me, just so, as like as like a memory basically of her. They didn't want to just leave the peonies and sell the house and never see them again, because this woman apparently loved these peonies so much. So this is my house here on the corner, and then this is a street that comes into to a neighborhood, and these people live in this neighborhood. So this cottage garden right here is visible every single time they drive home. They're gonna see my cottage garden, and they're gonna see their mother's and their mother-in-law's peonies planted here so they can remember it. And so I just figure, why not plant these peonies right here so my neighbors can see it every single time they drive by and have that wonderful memory. This is, I think, the perfect place for planting peonies in my garden, because peonies technically need full sun. However, we are very hot in zone 9B. It is a stretch to plant peonies in zone 9B, my zone 9B, that's really, really hot. And so this area it's eastern facing, so it gets morning sun. So it's going to get, the peonies are going to get all 6 hours of sun that it needs, but it's going to be that gentle morning sun. And then it's going to be protected from my house and from the fence from the hot afternoon sun that's going to scorch its leaves and scorch its blooms. So twofold, it's the perfect place to plant the peonies, you know, along with my other peonies. And two, my neighbors are going to be able to drive by and see them. So I'm really, really excited about it. They dug them up and they put them in these garbage bags. I haven't even opened them yet. This garbage bag, look at my hand. This garbage bag is one peony. I cannot believe it. They don't know how old it is exactly. They think it's 5 years old, but they're not totally sure. But I am so excited to get this one planted. I don't know if it's going to bloom this year, because transplanted peonies are in shock and they might not bloom the first year. This is the other peony I have. It's still massive. It's still huge, right? It's just not as big as the other one, but I don't care. I'm going to plant them both. Apparently this one is like a pale yellow color. I have no idea the variety. We'll try and identify it once it blooms. But yeah, that's my plan for today. So get these peonies in, and then get these sweet peas in all along the fence back here. So I'll have them grow up, and it'll be a pretty like backdrop to my cottage garden. So I want to preface this video by saying you don't really want to transplant peonies. You really don't want to transplant peonies if you can avoid it. Peonies will last a very long time in your garden, but because they last so long and they get so used to their homes, it makes them not good candidates for transplanting. But if you absolutely have to, I mean, you have to weigh the pros and cons. And so, you know, if we don't try transplanting these peonies, then they would have been gone forever. So if they don't survive or they don't do well here in this cottage garden, it's no loss, because they would have lost them anyway. So it doesn't really matter. The other reason why you might transplant a peony is if you plant it close to a young tree, and then over the years, over the years, the tree grows up and it starts really shading that peony, and that peony doesn't get enough sun to bloom properly. That might be a reason why you want to transplant it as well, because that peony is suffering anyway. So I just wanted to say that yes, I'm doing a video on transplanting peonies, but it isn't recommended to transplant peonies. Okay, so let's open this up and see what we have going on. I'm excited. It's like opening a Christmas present. Okay, I see a bunch of eyes. Oh my gosh. So what my neighbors did at their mother's house, mother and mother-in-law's house, is they cut off all the peonies to the ground level when they decided to transplant them, which is exactly what you're supposed to do. So before transplanting your peony, you want to cut them all the way down to the ground. The best time to transplant is usually in the fall, when the peonies are just going into dormancy, because when they go into dormancy, their metabolism slows down and they stop the growth, and that will limit the amount of stress that you're putting on that peony when you're doing the transplanting. So it is January now. It's not a bad time, because this peony is obviously still in dormancy, but I got to get it in the ground, and it might stress it out just a little bit. But again, no loss, because if we didn't try this, we would have lost this peony anyway to a stranger. So like I said, you want to cut it down to the ground, and then you want to dig out the root ball, and you want to dig out as much of the root ball as humanly possible. Now, they did a really good job with this one because it is a giant root ball. It's absolutely giant, and they couldn't have done much bigger than this without like an earth mover, I think, or something like that. So I think that they did a really good job, but you want to try and dig out as big of a root ball as possible. Then the most important thing for peonies is you don't want to plant them too deeply. When I dig my transplant hole here, I'm going to make sure that I dig it nice and big. I'm going to amend it. I'm going to amend it with pine bark mulch. I think I have some of that in my garage still, to make the soil nice and loose and loamy for it, and it'll make it a really happy environment, because this peony is going to be super stressed out and susceptible to fungal disease or, you know, other stuff like that. So you want to dig your hole nice and big and amend it, but you don't want to dig it too deep. These eyes right here on the peony, they need to be basically at ground level. They can be up to 2 inches deep under the ground, but really you don't want to go any more than 1 inch, I would say. If you live in my area, if you live in a colder area, I think you can go closer to 2 inches. But if you plant a peony too deep, it actually won't bloom for you, because it needs to be very shallow and it needs to be cold. And so these eyes, these little pink eyes, even though they look tender and they look like they wouldn't be able to survive the cold weather and a freeze and a frost, they need that to bloom. So my other peonies that I have here over in my cottage garden, I've actually been putting ice on them every week throughout the winter to try and stimulate chill time, and which will help them bloom the upcoming season. So if you plant the peony too deep and you have too much of like a blanket over it, then it's never going to get enough chill and it's never going to bloom for you. All right, so it is still not raining. I'm still doing good. Knock on wood. Let's go fast. I'm going to dig my hole. I'm going to amend my hole, and then I'm going to get this peony transplanted. All right, everyone, it is about 2 hours later, and I didn't get everything done, but I got a lot done. I do think I made more of a mess than when I started. You can see my handprints on the fence. It is supposed to start raining any minute. It's actually supposed to start storming, thunder and lightning any minute, so I'm just gonna go inside now at this point. But I wanted to show you all what I was doing. I don't know if that's an airplane or thunder. Anyway, so I ended up planting that one giant peony, and I have to say, I'm sure you guys saw the footage, do as I say, not as I do. Because I tried really hard to do really good and amend the soil and, you know, plant it at the right depth and all this kind of stuff, and not try and jar it too much. Oh, it was really hard. I should have went and got help, but I didn't. I thought I could do it myself. So I think I got it in. I think I did a good job with it. There it is. You can't even see it. It's right there. I think it's going to be happy there. It's kind of like, at least we brought it. At least we tried transplanting it. If it's not happy, if it stresses this year, like I don't think it's gonna bloom this year, but at least we can try and we can see what we can do. I didn't end up planting the other one yet, just because I thought that I was gonna run out of time, and I did run out of time. I got all these sweet peas in. These are the Elegance mix sweet peas. I got the seeds from Johnny's Selected Seeds. They're struggling. Everything's struggling right now. I think that's just winter gardening. Just everything struggles, and you just try and do your best. And faith in planting that all these plants are gonna, bounce back as soon as the spring season starts. And I really think they will. I think they'll be fine. But all of my sweet peas are like yellowed and stunted. I had pinched all of them. I hadn't fed them in a really long time because I kept expecting that I was going to plant them out. And it was like, okay, well, I'm not going to feed them because I'm going to plant them out. I'm not going to feed them because I'm going to plant them out. So they are really suffering, but I'm glad that I got those in. So as I was planting those, I kept running into the dreaded landscape fabric. I have so much landscape fabric in my garden just from when we moved in. And I think it's from the person who lived here before was an older person and lived alone and apparently didn't have much money either. And so I've heard stories from neighbors. I feel like I got dirt on my nose now that I just wiped it. I've heard stories from neighbors that for years, the person who lived here let the weeds grow in the garden to like waist high. And then I have neighbors down the street who have long-haired dogs, and they said that they wouldn't even walk their dogs by my house because it would get like, the weed stickers in the dog's fur, and they couldn't get it out. So it was that bad, right? So I think that when the woman decided to landscape the yard, she knew she couldn't manage it. She knew she couldn't afford a gardener. And it's starting to rain. Okay, I'll hurry. So she, had them put landscape fabric everywhere. Like every square inch in my garden was at one time covered with landscape fabric. And over the past years that I've moved in here, I feel like I've pulled out so much landscape fabric. But I do have to say, I understand why she did it, right? I mean, the option of having waist-high weeds and all your neighbors are mad at you because all their homes have the weed seeds blowing into their gardens, or putting some landscape fabric down, like I feel like that was the right call for her. So I can't be mad at her for doing it, but it's such a pain in the butt. So I didn't film it because I just thought I was cleaning, but I ended up getting so much of the landscape fabric out. You can't even tell how much I got out. I started at the Sem False Spirea right here. This guy doesn't look like much right now, but it's a very beautiful plant that kind of looks like a Japanese maple. And then I started working my way all the way down here and just kind of cutting back the Veronica, cutting back the Nepeta, taking out some of the old leaves that are here. They get really matted. I cannot leave too many leaves in my garden. It just it just doesn't break down like it does in other gardens. I say that to you guys all the time because I often get comments about people saying, leave the leaves in there, leave the leaves in there. It just doesn't work in our climate to leave. You can leave some, but you can't leave all of them. So I just made my way down, and as I was cleaning, I kept running into the landscape fabric. So I just started grabbing it and pulling it and taking as much out as I could. So I actually got most of it out. I got from that spirea kind of all the way over to that signpost right there. So I'm pretty happy with that. I feel like that was very productive, and I got it done before the rain started. I did end up, let me turn the camera around so I can show you guys better. Yep, the rain's starting. Time for me to go inside. Okay, so my fairy garden is a complete mess. My girls' fairy garden. I'm gonna have them come out here and clean it up themselves, give them a little gardening chore to do. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to do that. But what I did is I planted a ring of sweet peas around this sign. And then what I'll do is I'll hook some twine on this sign, just like I did with my sign over there last year for my purple hyacinth bean. And hopefully I can have some of the sweet peas growing up this sign. Won't that be pretty? So I did that, and then I just planted the line of sweet peas kind of all along here. And then I'll add, some wire or something like that to grow it up, train planting the sweet peas up the fence. I really hope the rain washes off my handprints because that looks almost scary, right? Like scary movie-esque. So, all right, if it's not washed off by the end of the day, I'll come and do it. And then right here is where I planted the massive peony. I think it's just such a beautiful peony. Like you can tell that it's just going to be so nice. So I'm not going to expect much from it this year. It's probably going to be stressed out, especially how I planted it. It's just so muddy, and I didn't have any pine bark mulch, so I got some compost, but all my compost is absolutely soaked from the rain. So it was like a comedy of errors, basically. So again, do as I say, not as I do for this planting. You know, try and do it the right way, and don't follow what I did. But I do think that plants can handle a lot more adversity than we give them credit for. Okay, so I apologize for such a hectic, kind of crazy, unorganized video today. It's just, trying to beat the rain, and I didn't even get enough footage of all the things that I'm talking about and all the things that I did. But again, I am proud of myself for committing to the fact that I was going to get outside today in some way. Even if it was 5 minutes just to get outside, it felt good. And it felt good that I didn't have to sit there and be a slave to the weather report, if that makes sense. Because if I was a slave to the weather report, I would just be inside for the next month, I think. So, so I think I'm going to keep doing this. I think it's, opportunistic gardening. Whenever I have the opportunity, I'm going to run out here. It might not be the best videography or editing these next couple weeks, just because I'll just on the spur of the moment, I'll run outside and grab my camera, but at least I'll be able to get some gardening in and get outside and enjoy myself. So I hope you all enjoyed this. I need to get inside now because it feels like it's going to start downpouring on me in a second, and I have a lot of metal tools out here. So I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get into your garden today.